Yeah. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Too afraid. Too
It's
afraid.
part 2, mate, so can you put your head upside down, please? Doing it, Freddie.
Too afraid to ask, too lazy to Google. Welcome to No Idea Yet. I am today's host, so welcome, Freddie. Say hi, Freddie.
Hello.
And Alistair.
Hi.
Hello there.
I said Alistair, Freddie. Come on now. To the show. Join us on this journey to find out how little we know. First, we'll discuss a topic we may or may not think we know. Then we'll go away for a week to research. We'll then discuss our findings and hopefully learn something along the way. These guys don't know the topic. I only learned of it last night. Bum bum bum. It's going to be aliens.
Yay.
Aliens, man. And at first...
You only learned of aliens last night.
Guys, did you know
Where have you been?
this crazy idea? At first I was like, what? I was trying to think of like a topic to do because I've got a plan of different things I can do, and I'm all like, they're rubbish, that's rubbish. And then I was like, how can I make a full thing out of this? But I realized I'm gonna flip it. So, I mean, the topics I'd like to cover in this episode.
What is an alien?
Define an alien.
We're talking about space aliens, not as in like illegal aliens. Although I feel that's not a word we use in the UK at all, is it? That's just an American thing, isn't it? Just to confuse people about space and immigration. Yes, one is the idea. You're like, some bits I'd want to talk about is the conspiracy side, and just more like the idea between what's the science and what's the conspiracy. Do you think there's the Fermi paradox, which is, there's a near infinite universe out there, so why haven't we heard anything else? Because it is like a bit of a paradox, because just for how long stuff's been around, we've been able to develop as we have. Is it a case? It's like the whole Goldilocks enigma, which again, hot, cold, hot.
There's only two possibilities, right? It's either we are alone in the universe or we aren't, and they're both equally terrifying.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing to talk about, and then going on is us being aliens, and this because I was chatting about we chatted a little about Bitcoin, about the different kind of civilizations and stuff like that, and also like the idea of we've gone to Mars now, we've got videos, and the idea of terraforming and colonization of us being the aliens going out. So let's say there is a hypothetical that we're just the first advanced race ever. I mean, improbable, but still possible. And so to go down that route, that we'd be the first. Well, if we make it that far, first to colonize and like to go out into space. So the first is talking more about. So let's get into it. So the Fermi paradox, guys. Do you know what the Fermi paradox is? Could you explain a little bit more, Alistair?
I mean, I feel like you said about less than a minute ago, but it's the idea that there's so many. If there's an infinite universe, right, then why are we alone? Basically, why have we not had any contact with aliens yet? And so obviously there's the conspiracy theory, which is like we have, and the government hide it from us, or there's the kind of we are absolutely alone, and it is just that's a bit terrifying. So
because the other thing is also like there's levels of how to get out there, and maybe it's that like there is a natural barrier which stops it. Either civilizations can't ever get past leaving the atmosphere because they always break down and fight, or there's never enough natural resources, or maybe it's a case of it's just such a big universe, you just simply cannot travel to that kind of area, and to just for one. Say you're traveling in the universe, what are the chances you just happen across another civilized place? I guess the biggest thing is more like why are there no signals being sent out? But yeah, Freddie?
What did you whisper there for? But I didn't actually catch
Wow. I whispered the great filter.
that. There we go. Let's get start video.
There are numerous filters, and this is what I understand. First filter is that life is even made. These filters, by the way, are just the difficulties that life might come across different stages. So the first one is like that life might not even exist in the first place, right? That's the possibility, and that we're just one of the first lucky, soups on a planet that got the right chemicals together that somehow made life. That's the first potential. And that's impossible potentially in some ways because we exist. Like maybe others can exist, but also the fact that we haven't heard anything from anyone else. Question. Then the next ones go up in stages. So the next one might be maybe it's normal for everything to stay as microbes, and we're just lucky enough that jumped that next field to become multicellular. And I don't know. Another one after this might be that yes, it's like multicellular, like mammals and reptiles and fish and stuff, but we're just the ones that manage to get that kind of
Big brain.
neurological intelligence that makes us things exactly. Big brain. And then obviously the next question is maybe that's very common, and it's very common to have got to this point. And many civilizations have got to where we are all across the galaxy or the universe, but the next filter is yet to come, and that could be nuclear annihilation, warring, just generally running out of time, and the planet gets hit by something or blows up. So these are the general the ideas that why we haven't come across another civilization yet. We might have hit a stage that they haven't, or vice versa.
So I guess to go away from what we apparently do know about it, so thoughts on actual extraterrestrial life on you guys of yes, no, repeat the question, maybe.
Yeah, I think my go-to, if you like, is always that I know I feel like the whole thing about us living in a simulation is more likely than the alien stuff.
Yeah,
Really?
I was gonna say that.
I did. Maybe it's just because the way that we're heading with technology and stuff, it's more believable now that we, it's kind of that we're living in a simulation versus, like I said, I think the whole thing about the not having any contact with aliens is a bit odd. And then equally, I think it's
Just haven't got the update yet for co-players.
yeah. I think I just feel like that's more believable.
So I guess as well, just to kind of explain that whole simulation, is like the brain in the jar thing of, like as the brain which has lots. We were talking in the previous episode about like sensory inputs and stuff like that. Of, we see through our eyes and they have an input. But what happens if you just have a brain in a jar and there's a certain part of the brain which would be connected to the eyes? You're just able to have a little jolt of electricity and it will just create the same thing that would have been implemented into the brain. So it's that idea of you don't. Yeah, I was just saying about a meat mech, that thought of if you just have a brain, you can, like the Matrix, you can just simulate everything that should be going on, and you're telling the brain all the right things without actually doing anything. So that would be the idea of the simulation idea, that everything's the Matrix, and it's made up. So for Alistair, yours is more of an idea.
Just too much effort to program that. They program the whole Earth. Why don't they talk about that? Yeah.
So simulation, you think is a better.
I think it's an argument for why there wouldn't be aliens as well, because obviously it's just like.
Well,
we've
lazy
got
coding
going on down here, Well, maybe there is, but we haven't got there yet. I think,
haven't unlocked it. It's a pay to play, so haven't unlocked it yet.
Yeah.
Freddie,
yeah.
Your thoughts on aliens?
Okay, tying into that a little bit is that when we look out into space or wherever for aliens, we're looking out on with our like radio waves and stuff, which is just all intents and purposes one form of energy. Like it's just. We're just using some of an electromagnetic spectrum. That's what our main method is of communication across long distances. And second of all, the things we're looking for are things that are like us, right? We're like carbon-based, as in the chemicals that make us up, structure. You could use silicon, which would be cool. Or we're just not thinking abstract enough. I mean, you could just have like gas creatures or things that are in other dimensions or all sorts of crazy stuff that sounds sci-fi. But it's just that we're limited by what we think about. And then that kind of ties back to the simulation in the sense that people could say, oh, what's the point of simulation? We're just all like, what, my 9-to-5 job is part of a simulation? It's like, well, kind of an argument with God as well. Can you really explain to like an ant stuff? Like, the ant's just doing its thing. Like, you've got maybe an ant simulation because you want to figure out the optimal way of having a company run. So we could just be in a simulation to make an optimal something program. Like, we can only conceive stuff with our puny little human brains, and we're limited. So, yes, I believe there could be there because I think it's mathematically likely, but I think it's also far beyond us that we probably will never know.
I mean,
it's like the one I always go through is the whole like perspective of that, right? So like Men in Black does that brilliantly at the end of both Men in Black 1 and 2, right? When they just have like our entire everything we could possibly conceive of is just a marble in that I think that's a brilliant bit of cinematography to show that, and I think that they hit the nail on the head there.
I mean, I think I always think I like the idea of, you said a bit the God thing, not to really get into that, but do you know that idea of like we want it to be understood in a simple way, and it's kind of term anthropomorphizing. So do you like you see a dog sigh and you think, oh, he's sad? He's like, no, you're anthropomorphizing. He's just sighing because he's yawning or whatever. Not yawning because they're tired. They're just yawning. So you're putting a feeling to something. You're trying to make a link when there isn't necessarily one there. So in that same way, if you may be like, well, if this happens, surely there's this particular reason that I can understand. But as you're saying, like the ant, it's like you're trying to anthropomorphize something so much bigger than you that you've got no understanding. It's that thing, isn't it? An ant trying to understand why somebody steps on it. Yeah. So I definitely think that we try to understand in our terms when we can't.
For sure.
So go Freddie.
Oh, I just finished House 5 the other day, and it's a classic that I've never read, so I thought, I'll read it. And it's about this guy kind of potentially or not potentially, however you read into it, traveling through time, and he gets like abducted by aliens called Fedorans or something. And the point is that they see in the fourth dimension, as in they see in time, they see everything you've ever done and ever will do, all as kind of like one. How is it? It's described as like as a mountain peaks, right? So they see it all. They see it in a completely different way. They see it just like to them, we are just weird idiots in kind of the 3D, having stuff just happen to us and we have no idea why. And they see it as this kind of, well, I can see everything that happened to you. Like, why are you freaking out about it?
I like the way it's explained as mountain peaks. So you can see, it's like you're. Cool. That's such a good way. One thing as well.
Go into the mountain peaks analogy bit there. Sorry.
So if you're on a mountain, so if somebody's like walking down a path and they only see what's in front of them, somebody's up on a high viewpoint and they can see that path they're going to be walking. So you can see the mountain peaks of that.
Perspective of that, I'm with you.
Sorry. One thing, like the thing about the filters, it could be that. Do you know we always think like, you get holograms, so they are like a visual thing, representation, and that we need to make that. We need to make light kind of into a form. But then you watch something like I can't remember the show. It's going to remember now. Altered Carbon, and it says no, you don't make the hologram. You change the contact lens, so it gives that illusion of it. So maybe it's a case of no civilization gets past the Earth stage because we just go into it and we just go into simulation, like a VR kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a case of we could actually be in the real world kind of thing. It's that there's no signals out there because civilizations stop, because it's better when you just go VR and you just make a virtual reality. Or if you know what I mean. So like,
so the planet's millions of light away. They're just tiny little, hard drives, solar powered on the little thing of just that. Hey, Freddie, that could be your silicon life forms for you. There you go.
Yeah. Or the other thing, as you said, one is say you wouldn't know if say like an orca or a dolphin is just the exact same intelligence as us. They have the same conversations. They have the same friends. They have the same groups. Everything's the same, but they don't. The reason why we think we're so much smarter is because we can build houses. I mean, for one thing, dolphins and whales are going to struggle to build anything without hands. And second part is, why would they need to build anything? We built houses because we need to cover from shelter or we need to hunt to do whatever. But say if you just had something which is completely like, an orca, what's the reason for them to build anything to show their intelligence that way? We usually judge our intelligence by building something, but say if you've got a whole species which is so perfectly suited to its environment, they can have whole debates, philosophy, science, stuff like that, but there's no reason for them to progress further, because why would they? The cliche thing with like tribes people and like the white man who always thinks like there's something better out there when you've already got it. Why trying to improve on it?
Sort of the theory that therefore we're the aliens because we're the ones who we've got this weird thing of like we're not comfortable on Earth. We're not we have to make it completely different. Like all other animals seem to be pretty content with how they are on Earth. And yet humans are like, no, I don't like this. I want to make this just the right temperature. No, not too hot, not too cold, just the right temperature.
I like that.
But an outrageous amount of effort into making sure that I'm always just the right temperature. I don't think that's enough to say we're aliens, but it's a funny point.
But I like that. The other thing to go on from, so rather than just say like other aliens, is us being the alien of what do you think in the way of like terraforming, or do you like going to other planets and actually colonizing? Do you think that's something we're actually gonna do? Do you think we'll get past that filter, or do you think it's even worth it?
I think the funny thing about that, I actually looked this up recently quite briefly, but it was saying basically like, the idea of terraforming Mars, which is obviously the big sort of hot topic at the moment. It would be like, imagine going to live in the Antarctic because obviously people who were sort of like, oh, it'd be so idealistic to live on Mars. It'd be such a, romantic idea. It would be like, no. Imagine going to live in the middle of the Antarctic. It would be like 100 times worse than that. Like, it would be a way longer journey to get there. And like, it would be as hostile, if not more. It would be like a worse version of living in the middle of like a completely frozen wasteland.
Potential of dying.
So-
Just at any
Yeah,
moment.
constantly potential dying, constantly have to survive. You're probably reliant on shipments from Earth. And like, there's quite an interesting thing about how actually flying to Mars, you can only do it once every, I think it's like 14 months or something, because of the way that the Earth and Mars are so far apart for most of the time, apart from there's a little window when they're quite close together. So that'd be when you need to travel. And it's just like, it's all mental.
So the book to read about this, so this is what I recommended to these guys, and I don't. Do you know when you recommend a book, you do not expect someone to actually read it because books are effort. But it's called, and it's a terrible name, incredible book, Seed, a hard science fiction novel about survival, colonization, and leadership growth. That's the full title. I mean, he didn't. There's no like colon, Seed, colon, a hard science. It's the full name.
Is it by Rocky Flintstone? I think we've made this joke before. When we talked about this.
Matthew G. Dick. But the idea
not too
is
far away, to be fair.
his goal is to terraform Mars, and they keep trying. They've tried 3 times already, and it's just becoming too expensive, and it's not working because it's not a good planet to do it on. And so the idea of like uploading your memory and stuff like that into a robot, and he's been the first person to do it. Of like, you have the glasses you wear and they record everything. You're able to put yourself into a robot. So rather than terraforming a planet, which is going to take, you've got to do it in your lifetime, instead is you upload a consciousness of somebody who's good at terraforming, and instead send them to a planet which is already ripe for humans. So half the battle's already done. But the problem is that's going to take thousands of years to get there. So if you put yourself in an android, you don't need life support. You don't need to find anything like that. You just need embryos which can be stored in like cryogenically with like minimum energy, and that's how it works. So you're doing it for like thousands of years in the future, not right here and now.
The interesting thing with that, it's kind of similar. I think you just reminded me of that. Talking about like filters and things, and like there's an argument for why we should never set off on a journey to some distant star, because as soon as you, so if there was some we managed to build some sort of light speed rocket that was then going to take hundreds of years to get to wherever it was going, or even thousands of years. The people on that rocket obviously they have to have generations live and die on this rocket, and by the time they got to wherever they're going, there'd be a seriously high probability that whoever sent them would already be there, because in that time that they've taken to get there, the people who sent them have managed to figure out better technology to get there faster, and so be there. So it'd be like there's just there'd be no point at all. There's like that's a big paradox in actually trying to.
Heard of this.
Yeah, I think it's quite a common kind of science fiction kind of thing, but obviously it's basically
the same with it. I think it was something to do with, I don't know if it's true, but like cybersecurity or some sort of technology on Earth. It's like there are plans where it's like they don't implement them because by the time they would have solved it, they would have come up with something better and a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
Like cybersecurity, for example, like we've made this really difficult program that we're going to start running on the computer. It's perfect software, but by the time the program's finished, we can already crack it.
Yeah.
Something that I wanted to just touch on that touches with is about terraforming and stuff. So this is an interesting thought. We currently cannot go and terraform Mars, can we?
No.
We or Elon Musk can't, because
neither us nor Mr. Musk. We cannot we don't have the technology to go on spaceships and go explore for other places. No, but we do have the technology already, quite simply, to make pods and pack them full of like bacteria and stuff that will last a really long time, because you make sure there's like oxygen and some other stuff, and you just fire them into space. You could literally just pepper them at different star systems. Like we could send very cheaply, relatively, like thousands and thousands and thousands. And the concept is that if we can do it now already with our technology, other species out there, civilizations, could also have done the same thing, and Earth could just be one of those planets that was hit by one of the terraforming pods, which is why we don't know how Earth started, because you can just fire them at things you think are probably going to have like the right stuff for life. Like, there's like 16 of them. Now we'll just fire them at them. Pew, 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 pew. We could do it.
Also, could you imagine the calculations involved to know? Do you know, you're saying like about Mars, and you always think like, oh, you just like hop over, but it's like
in 1960 whatever, sent to the moon. Yes, there are calculations, but
but
how many we can send out?
Oh no, definitely no. But I was just thinking, do you just think you take for granted that idea of like, so we are constantly moving. So one thing, so it's not just like, right, there's a star, the right straight line, shoot it. Like no, because by the time we've fired it, that will have moved somewhere. Like like the galaxy's moving, and then solar systems are already moving. So you've got to calculate how long it's going to take to get there, and then what position it will need to be in.
Scientists bloody love that. That's what they live for. That's what these mathematicians, they live for that, mate. That's the dream.
Another thing of a film called Pandorum, heavily recommend. It's kind of like Wall-E and Dead Space combined, and it's the idea of you go into another planet, but rather than terraforming the planet, you've got a chemical which terraforms the person. So you find a suitable planet, and then you have something which will actually change the genetics of the person. So do you like this thing, rather than building the hologram, build the contact lens? And it's like, rather trying to change the planet, we change ourselves a little bit to be better adapted to the environment. So be like, oh, it's less oxygen or more oxygen, or do you like stronger muscle density or less, stuff like that. And it's, watch the film. Yeah. It's really good. Thick fur or, deep. But yeah, if you watch the film Pandorum
in space, that'd be quite a useful one, probably.
Yeah,
breathe that atmosphere, that'd be quite handy.
But yeah, no, the film's great. It's a horror film, but like it's a good sci-fi film as well. Just solid. I was going to say I'll round it up here. So first thing, we got to look into something conspiracy and just have a good little jolly. Find just a little conspiracy story about aliens, be it somebody's like first-hand experience or. Oh yeah, that's based, technically based on aliens, and then
I'll do the little tiny ones. The ones that are supposed to be like the little golf disc ones that they travelled past a F1 bomber, and it was like nothing can possibly travel that fast.
Yeah, there's really like government have released videos, like the things of like UFOs and stuff, and that's it. It's not saying they're aliens. It could be like whatever. It's just a UFO. Just means unidentified. It could even be an American thing that they don't know it's there. It could be in a trading, we don't know. But yeah, so definitely find something, just a little interesting conspiracy story, whatever, I don't know. And then a bit more just about like, I guess we chat a lot about filters and different things like that, of just something actual, get some evidence for that of what we've talked about. And the last one is, so conspiracy, bit of the science behind it, and it'd be that based on anything we talked about, so either terraforming or colonization, aliens themselves, stuff like that, just some science behind it. And the last one is, have there been any laws created for it? So do you know, like, in the 60s, they looked into paranormal stuff, didn't they? So are there any like government organizations or anything like that, which is just a little bit of legal document to be like, if in the case of this, then this? Do you like, have we prepared for that? And I'm not saying that it's like a big thing, but do you know, like, has that somewhere been done? Of it's just like a little checkbox. By the way, if this happens, this is what we'll do, kind of thing, or is that something we just yeah? So there's the questions.
One thing I did remember, we can probably talk about this next week further. I'll add this if you want. But yeah, Freddy's. You sort of quote South Park in other episodes, right? But have you seen the South Park thing where they have like they give Earth space gold to sort of see how we react to it, and then basically it's just like to prove that we're just a bunch of greedy, it's like alien spaceship crashes on Earth, it's full of space gold and it's got an alien on it, and it's like how the planet reacts to having that happen, and obviously the humans just fight over it and they just completely go crazy. And these other aliens, sort of the ending is these other aliens come down, they pick up their sort of man in the space gold, they say, you guys clearly are not ready to join the Galactic Federation, and then they fly away from Earth and then just blast like a shield around it so we can never escape it. Because they determined that we're just not good enough for by the fact that we're so greedy and the fact that we're so It's so fun. I've not watched the episode. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen South Park in years actually. That's quite fun.
Yeah, let's do some research on South Park.
I've got a really solid, great, interesting fact for the end of this episode. So you got to stay tuned because, it links into
feet?
me as
Please
well.
Please not be about feet.
It's not about feet this
time. That's my only request.
But it is about the body.
Of course.
It's good.
Now at the end of the episode.
End of the episode. You guys need to stay tuned for another week. These guys, just an extra, 20, 30 minutes.
They'll be lucky.
Got to keep them sweet. Keep them wanting more for the next half.
For the double daddy.
Right, so we'll see you in a week. You'll see us in a couple of seconds. Thanks. I love you. Don't die.
I love you.
Also, It feels so different when it's like we're saying bye for a week, but for them it's like I love you, bye. Okay, hello.
I love it. Be good. Be good to each other. Oh, hi. I gotta go. You like breathing?
Right, welcome us back to the show. It's been a week for us. It's only been 2 seconds for you. I am thoroughly energized now. When we left off, I said that I loved you and don't die. I may have been speaking a little bit quick. The latter sentiment definitely still holds true, though. So, on to the show. So, we were talking about aliens.
For those of you who managed to not die in the last 15 seconds, good on you.
And if you have, let us know.
Tweet
If
us
you
from,
can.
tweet
us. No, we don't. We don't have Twitter. We're not that cool.
Which you don't, do we?
Yeah, so we're talking about aliens and everything that may contain. So the first things first, I'll knock us out of the park. I'll go straight for it. We're going for the holy grail of nouns, which is the definition of an alien. First one is a foreigner, especially one who is not naturalised citizen of the country where he or she is living. And the second one is a hypothetical or fictional being from another planet. So I asked you a few questions, guys, and just to have a general research on anything like that, to try to take more of a serious note, so as well as a silly one. So, Freddie, take it away.
Well, now I'm just thinking of like a way of breaking those definitions. Like, if you got two animals, right, that do exist on the planet, took them to, I don't know, Mars, and then made them have a baby, and then that baby came back, and it was a different species as well, because it was a mix of other species, is it an alien?
I mean, it would depend if it's a say you went to Mars, and then you did it. Would it be a Martian citizen? Because then it'd be a double alien, wouldn't it?
Does it get a Martian passport?
Alien squared. That's what's happening. I feel like anyone born on a different planet is an alien. That's part of the fun of becoming. It's one of the only good things about going to Mars on one of your.
I like that.
That's
the only good reason is to go pregnant, or at least on the journey there, get pregnant, have the baby on Mars, and literally come straight back.
Yeah.
I read a story that. I read an article, and again, now I'm really confused if it's real or not. Maybe someone could Google it, or maybe we can. That a bunch of people tried having a baby on Antarctica, and then bringing the baby back so that it was a citizen of Antarctica, so they could claim Antarctica or part of it as theirs, and all of the babies died.
Oh,
like not in Antarctica, not from the cold, but from lack of exposure to any bacteria. So when they came back again, their immune system just couldn't handle it, and they died.
Wow, that is crazy.
So it sounded like complete rubbish until that last, because that actually sounds a bit more believable. So yeah, that's.
But then at the same time, I kind of feel like if you've got the resources to go to Antarctica to have a kid, I kind of feel you'll have the resources to maybe not have a child
bring
die.
some dirt with you and
Rub it in their eyes.
Excellent parenting tips right here, guys. That's what you
I mean, I'll Google it during the episode and then come back to you. How about that?
Yeah.
Specialist talents.
So one of the first questions I asked is there any solid evidence? And this would really be trying not to be the conspiracy theory of like, look at the pyramids, man, how could he even do that? But more like, maybe find some microorganisms on a little bit of a rock, for instance, or whatever else. So, Alfred, did you find anything along those lines?
So, interesting. What I did for this episode, which I haven't really done very much in terms of our research for the last 17 episodes, was actually listen to other podcasts for it. I don't know if you guys have done that at all, but yeah, actually delve into other alien and conspiracy theory podcasts. Funnily enough, there's quite a lot of them, and unsurprisingly, they are all batshit crazy. Probably the best one, the intro to Truth Seekers. Again, not trying to bash other podcasts here.
Oh, I think I've listened to that one.
It was like a show, Truth Seekers.
That's what. Yeah, it's a new thing that what's his name? Nick Frost did.
Great, I really like that show.
It really was, I enjoyed that. I was surprised they didn't
think.
do more with it. Yeah, I think it did, because they clearly opened up more things to do there. But yeah, but they're like, they give a list of things that might happen to you from listening to this podcast, and it starts off okay, you might see flashing lights, or you might have a widened sense of acceptance for things, and then they just keep listing it, and it's like levitation, and they just like it's just this crazy list of constant I don't know if it's priority, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, to get back to your point, the concrete evidence stuff. I think the most interesting thing I've found, which I don't know if you guys come across as well, was the Oumuamua. These guys hear about this at all? Because this is probably So in terms of actual good evidence, that's kind of like, and quite recent as well, fairly recent. I think 2016 they discovered it. If I'm thinking, it was basically it's a very unusually shaped, potentially piece of garbage. Potentially, who knows what it was, but it's somewhat plausible that it would have been created by a different civilization, and it kind of flew through our solar system and did some weird stuff on its way through, to the point that we were like, that's not really an asteroid, and that's not really done things that we'd expect something like that to do. So yeah.
And then no one's like, come back, we want to look at you some more. We kind of do take it in.
we just have some really, really crappy photos of it, basically, as you'd expect, because it was pretty far away and travelling really fast. And it was a few hundred meters across, so it's pretty small, obviously by standard of space things. But yeah, it's a very unusual shape, basically. And so there's quite a few theories about what it could be and all sorts of things.
I did see a little bit on that. I didn't pursue it as much as you did, but I did see a thing. People went nuts. The thing is, like,
I vaguely remember people going crazy about it. But no, but sorry, I go for it.
Yeah, no, just people jump on anything, and then the problem is you've immediately got to filter out all the crap to actually get to the basis of stuff.
I mean, one thing I found was nationalarchives.gov.uk, or just go onto Gov website, because there was a Freedom of Information Act. People were asking from the 1950s, which I assume was really because of after World War II, people were used to looking up at the sky and afraid of what other countries are going to be attacking you. The Ministry of Defence got super serious about UFOs from the 1950s, and they formed a group called the Flying Saucer Working Party. And I think they relatively quickly found out of, like, most stuff is either hoax or misinformation, or like you're misidentifying stuff, so it's not actually like like the flying saucers UFOs. However, the Ministry of Defence, different divisions continued just like documenting and investigating sightings of any kind of UFO that's reported. So that's from 1950 to 2009, and it was released at the start of last year. So if you go onto Gov website, there's loads of stuff of every listing of a possible UFO sighting within the UK. It's just been like flashing lights, or like 3 green lights went into a triangle formation then flew away, or like what looked like a star but a lot brighter and flashing, just stuff like that. So it literally just says what area of the UK it is.
What do these sources have to come from them to be sort of documentalised? Because that's,
I don't know, 111 calls. I don't know. I think it's one of those things of
because wow, that would be a lot. Like,
I think it's because it was the Ministry of Defence who were just recording sightings. So some of them, like, I think some
whoever
civilians,
got
some,
through
like, military.
whoever got through the phone line automated system enough got all the way up to the top.
But yeah, so they just Ministry of Defence documented it, and you can now look, and there's just long lists of just random little sightings. It doesn't. All a UFO means though is an unidentified flying object. So obviously after the war, you'll be like, we should probably have a look to see if anything's flying in our airspace, because that's worrying. So yeah, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything like extraterrestrial. It just means there is something that's in the sky and we don't know what it is. And it could be something which is, say if you've got some secret thing where you're just doing a little training mission, or if you've got like new tech or like a drone or whatever like that. So I feel like probably now more than ever we'll get less sightings because people will be like, that's just a drone.
That's interesting. I've got 2 things, if you don't mind adding to that. Go for it. One is that I love human crowdsourcing, is that just like, right, so because people do it for like birds and other animals, right? They're just like, right, well, if we get the public to count for us, then it's like a huge resource and we can learn a lot, and they could just do it for us. It's like, yes, that works until they think it's aliens. It's just like, and then you get too many people calling in, and they're like, I saw an alien. But what I found out was that Area 51, I didn't realise that, I mean, first of all, Area 51 was literally made for spy planes. So literally it's almost inevitable, right? So it's America making crazy ass like flying things because they want to spy on the Russians, like testing all sorts of crazy stuff and not telling anyone about it, obviously, because it's meant to be secret. And like lots of people have said that sightings of UFOs and stuff around Area 51 literally ties in with now released flight schedules of their crazy inventions that like they just made. And they'd be like, oh my god, what the hell is that? Even other pilots flying normal planes like, what the hell is that? But it's because the US later on is like, oh yeah, we made something weird and we just didn't tell you about it.
It cost a lot of money. We do not want to tell you how much it cost to make that.
Oh, just so much.
But it went really fast. It was really small for something.
So it's interesting that probably is all. I mean, yeah, people seeing stuff in the sky. I mean, people make weird stuff all the time. I mean, imagine if people reported other weird things that other people made. You guys have been on Etsy and other stuff. Like, it's like, is it alien made? Just because it flies doesn't make it alien made.
Hearing stories of, I had a friend and he said he knew somebody who made a Tesla coil out in his back garden and like electrified his like garden, like a greenhouse by accident, and all the things of being like, yeah, what was it? Someone was able to get enough of like, do you know that the smoke detectors? They got a tiny bit of radioactive material in. They've been able to collect enough of that to actually do something with it, and it being like they got investigated because it was like, why do you have a lot of radioactive material? I just was collecting it from smoke detectors to see if I could do a cool thing, literally just backyard science kind of thing, and being like, you're bordering on dangerous. I like your hobby, I like the enthusiasm, but curb it.
Yeah, we get a job.
Yeah, and I always like my uncle, he was in the Navy, he's commander in the Navy, and he's saying like the amount of times of when you could be close to like a World War III is like quite a lot. You just don't tell the public about it, of like the kind of things which always go on with the military behind closed doors and things like that, of like, what's in the sky? We don't know what it is. It's like, you have no idea. It doesn't mean it's aliens. It could just mean like something more ominous from another country, possibly. There's lots of different reasons. I'm trying to kind of explain away aliens. I don't know why.
Think about what you do if you have a kid, right? It doesn't matter how old they are, really. And you say, don't open that cupboard. It's like, why? Just don't look in the cupboard. It's like their imagination goes nuts.
Yeah, totally.
Full on dinosaurs. That's probably what's in the cupboard. Dinosaurs. Like you don't know. So imagine having a whole public and not telling them of like the stuff that you're doing. No wonder they come up with all sorts of ideas.
And I think the biggest thing as well. So if you're like, we're going to be brother, that's the word. Keep seeing him put things of like, let's stop trying to go to Mars and try fix the planet we're on, kind of thing. And like, so you could imagine like if somebody's like, well, we just made an experimental thing, we just made one of it, we thought what it would be like. How much should it cost? 3 million. And I feel like you would not be able to, like, a lot of stuff would be like, it's just better not to tell anyone and just say we have a budget and we spend the budget and leave it at that.
Yeah.
So some of the other questions, conspiracy theories. So did either of you have any fun conspiracy theories that you like to pick up on?
I'd be more curious, is anything you guys found wasn't a conspiracy theory? Because I mean, like you said, in terms of like studying this, I think again it's completely like what did you go what was your mindset going into it? And I assume it probably was the same coming out of it. But if you go in skeptical, you're going to come out skeptical. And if you go in with, these balls to the wall kind of, aliens are real. The pyramids were made by aliens. The lizard people are in Antarctica. Because, like I said, again, on these podcasts I was listening to, they just very much they just drop that into conversation as if it's like well understood that that's normal. that's our base level. So, again, I think it's good to clarify the base level, what you have going into all of this discussion. I think all of us I'd go out on a limb and say all of us are still pretty skeptical to say.
Yeah, I think as well, as you say, like the problem is, like it seems that people don't like to. It's not like 1 foot in. It's really like either. I don't really. I've never really thought about it, and then somebody like diving off a cliff, being like head first. There's rocks at the bottom, and like, yeah, let's do this. Aliens. Yeah.
Well, because okay, I'll be honest then. I did find some realistic stuff, if that makes sense. First, just a little hint there, and then we can dive bomb into the fun stuff. It's just like, yes, there are chemical signatures in Venus's atmosphere that, as far as we know, are only made by the decay of organic matter. We don't know how to make these chemicals any other way at all. And also, although Venus is super dangerous, like to be on the land of Venus, up in the atmosphere, it's actually a relatively safe environment. Imagine like the depths of the ocean, right? Right at the bottom of the ocean sucks to be, but at the top it's actually warmer and safer, and there's more like other chemicals that are friendly. So yes, potential in the atmosphere you could have floating around Venus bacteria. Other crap that I'll just quickly slide through is that Viking Mars lander in 1976 detected chemical signatures of life, but the technology back then was pretty crap. 1977, there was a signal detected by an Ohio State University red telescope from 220 million light years away that people can't explain because it's a very fast frequency that should have decayed faster than we think, but so question mark on that one. Apparently, fossils from Mars were found in 1996 in Antarctica, and some other stuff about a red tinge on Jupiter's moon, Europa, is proposed to be due to frozen bits of bacteria, which would explain infrared signals. These are from reputable sources,
Well, I think
but
the
it's
biggest
all
thing
potentials.
is hinting towards of like, when you think life outside of Earth, everyone immediately thinks like, in advanced civilization, whereas the biggest thing you want to know is like, is there the possibility of life full stop? It could be a
I
microbe.
was about to say, is that the most interesting thing? Is that the big? Is that like, okay, we've solved aliens? Because I feel if they did discover bacteria on another planet, I think we'd quite quickly be like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but we don't really care. Like that's
Well,
I feel
but
like that would be.
what it shows.
But obviously, that would be interesting in terms of religion. It would probably toss up some
Space Jesus.
The biggest thing would be like,
would that be that big of a revelation?
definitive proof that without a doubt there is that possibility of intelligent life elsewhere. As soon as you got that initial starting block, because one of the biggest things with everything is always, it's. I was listening to a podcast about it, and it's saying like, it's easy to explain like all the physics behind stuff and like whatever, but as soon as it comes to just the initial what sparks off biology, you have good ideas and theories, but it's knowing how it goes from 0 to 1 effectively. Like even physics would be able to, like for the universal stuff, would be able to have proper like theories for that like work as well. Like evolution, that works up to a point, but not to the very starting, if you know what I mean. Of like, what sparks it off and like how do we get to that point. So having like microorganisms elsewhere means that without a doubt that is a possibility, that it's not just some freak chance whatever.
Without a doubt a possibility.
Thing is, I just before we move off, I kind of agree with both of you in the sense that I agree with Johnny that, oh my god, this means that life exists in other places, like it can be made, but then at the same time we are alive assuming that we're not in some sort of simulation. So we know it can be made, right? But then the other part is we do get used to stuff pretty quick. So maybe we'll just be like, cool, yep, bacteria can be made in other places. I mean, obviously we assumed that because we were, but where's ET? So, I mean, if we had other civilized life, that would also be, I mean, that's just, I don't know, that's science fiction, then who knows?
Yeah, I mean, a cool thing as well, I was listening to a podcast about it, and do you know the thought of the simulation of, it's one of those things which, I guess in like a religious debate, it would be called God of the gaps. So do you know when you don't understand something, do you understand how is it that we're so alone in the universe? That why is there nothing? It surely just statistically it should be we've seen something, yet maybe that's proof for a simulation. I mean, that's the exact same kind of reasoning for any form of religion based on something which I don't understand something yet, so therefore I'll make a belief based upon it, which is, I guess, a flawed belief.
Well,
yeah. So that's
let's go down the rabbit hole.
But no, it's just like a cool thing for like, I guess always like any kind of faith, doesn't matter what it's in. I think without any kind of anything behind it, it's kind of flawed, isn't it? And that could be in anything.
I think again, a similar thing that you're always very much a product of what you consume and what you see in terms of information and everything else. So as soon as you start, I have no doubt if we spent every week just listening to it, or if you just surrounded yourself with those kind of like podcasts and things, all this alien stuff all the time, I have no doubt at all, especially if you live by yourself, that you would very quickly become very like you say, you would have a little room full of tinfoil hats. I'm sure.
So for your next task, Alistair, it's to actually just only surround yourself with. One question you did say is like, are there any kind of like laws created or government preparations? And I did find an institute called SETI. It's not for profit organisation.
Search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Right?
Yeah, say that again, Alistair.
The search for extraterrestrial intelligence. No?
Yeah, started in 1984. This is from the website. Over the years, other research disciplines have been added to the institute's portfolio, all unified by their relevance to the search for and understanding of life beyond Earth. Today, the institute has approximately 100 scientists, as well as specialists in administration, education, and outreach, and they're just for the sole focus of trying to find stuff like life in our universe, effectively. And I think that's one of the things you say for the bacterium, like, do we care? Of like, if you're able to see if on another planet how life may have started, like, cool, life was there, then you can then look for other planets where you'd be like, cool, this hypothetically is where it should be. You know what I mean? So you've got a better idea of what you're looking for, which is cool. Very cool.
I just saw like that, like the general scenarios that they have to consider. We've got friendly civilization, hostile civilization, equally advanced, more advanced, interstellar groups, and extraterrestrial artifacts. And every single one of those I wish I was on the board meeting for. Just like, so guys, we're assuming that we are equally advanced. Do you reckon they've got cling film? Like, they probably can keep food fresh, yes. I want to know what they talk about.
Also, could you imagine, like, if we came into contact with, say, randomly, I don't know, some Doctor Who event, a planet gets just, like, beamed right next to us and we don't all die from gravity. Like, say if they were the exact same advancement as us, but let's say they're, like, I'm not going to say arachnoid, do you like District 9 kind of thing? Do you like another non-mammalian species, same intelligence? Let's say, how would we actually, two planets, the same level, how would they interact? I assume war, to be honest. Like
we're
I feel like the Earth we would really come together in a way we've never seen before. Humans would really start to, we'd come together in a completely new.
We sorted our stuff out.
Simple as the us and them argument, isn't it? If we got a new them, the us and them stuff would be a lot easier to do. But
yeah. Screw racism. Let's be speciesisms.
Your planet sucks.
Yeah,
planetist.
We're way too hostile.
Yeah, I do think that's it. And like the very least of I think hypothetically it could be like for a general, I don't know. It's just fear mongering how media does it, isn't it? As soon as you get one like media outlet to be like, are we going positive or negative? What will sell better? And it's going to be negative, and then it's only going to be like hysteria, and then that in turn goes up with the chain of command, doesn't it?
But what if there was like an active push from the government? It was like, right, crap. We have to suppress media, like negative media outlet, because if anyone starts like messing around, then we could be attacked as well. So imagine the media has to be suppressed and made it really happy, like, oh no, peace and love, guys, peace and love, like we're so happy. But just because if the humans so easily riled that we have to suppress it.
Try the Kool-Aid, guys. Don't listen to newspapers.
Yeah. Oh no.
But scary thought, isn't it? Well, one thing I did see for laws was space laws, and this is less about aliens and more about us being the aliens of it kind of like international waters of doing like you go out to sea and it's kind of like no one owns this part of sea, and it's the same thing with space of like if you watch
it's all about the implication.
The implication. If you what's it called, Ad Astra or something like that, I can't remember. It's the Brad Pitt film, and part of it is on the moon, and the moon is like a proper cow like western because you have different factions of Earth communities over like, no, this is our land, so like there's people dying, just like fighting each other. And so it was, if you join, Elon Musk has already been on it, of course, and so on the SpaceX Starlink.
Elon Musk.
Elon
Musk.
What, has
Elon
the show
Musk.
Right? Also Dory? Elon Musk? Elon Musk. SpaceX Starlink, the agreement when you go onto it is for services provided on Mars or in transit to Mars, a spaceship or other colonization spacecraft, the parties recognize Mars as a free planet and that no Earth-based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities. And the governing law section states, accordingly, disputes will be settled through self-governing principles established in good faith at the time of Martian settlement. So if you've ever seen the show The Expanse, it's all about like what happens if we go to Mars, as well as having Earth, Mars, and then like people in space all the time. And like the kind of warring factions, a bit like kind of Independence in America and whatever.
I actually watched a bit of The Expanse, like randomly dipped in and out because a friend was watching it, and it's about like it's basically kind of like America, isn't it? Where people go to Mars and then want to be independent, and I was like, that's a cool concept.
But there's also space people who do mining on like comets for ice and whatever,
and they sound their accent they put on is just awful.
And like one cool bit is that they're trying to interrogate a terrorist from another spacecraft. And because they've born there, they do have like lesser gravity, and so when they come to Earth, it's like torture them just being on our planet's gravity. And so they just see like his torture. They just hung him up on 2 hooks under his armpits, and he's like sweating like, and it's not until they put him in water to kind of like to offset that he's like, oh, okay, it's fine. But I just think that's just what a great little like science fiction idea. And they have to have like growth hormones not to go weird and all stretchy.
Tying it back to what you said about
a film or
TV series.
Okay.
I mean, it was
on Amazon, I think.
Cool premise. I didn't keep watching it though, so neither did Freddie. So it's a cool idea.
Sold. Yeah.
I just wanted to tie it back to Elon Musk, just not to him specifically, but that was one of the interesting conspiracies that I found. was that lots of very rich people have invested lots of money into space stuff, but not just space stuff for benefit, but like alien stuff. And we're talking, here's just some name drops: Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, obviously, Franklin Antonio, who co-founded Qualcomm, very rich bloke.
Well, Jeff has his own. Jeff Bezos has his own like space program that's similar to. It's not as famous as SpaceX, but he's like Blue something or other. It's called like Blue.
Yeah.
So he's definitely got. Yeah, sorry, I can't.
No, just that they're putting in a lot, like more than you think. The other one, Yuri Milner, is a Russian entrepreneur, and Paul Allen, the Microsoft co-founder. Like, we're talking top of the game, very, very, very wealthy people are putting in surprising amounts of money into aliens, and that was an interesting conspiracy.
Into aliens,
like research, or like one of the I think Paul Allen guy is literally funding for 10 years a space a telescope station for like listening for extraterrestrial life.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Makes you think, anyway.
Do you think it's just kind of like
they're kind of done with Earth? They're like, oh well, yeah.
It's like the next
Complete
Bitcoin.
Earth, mate. What should I do?
When you get aliens, the first one to be aliens just cash in on it and being like, find the first signal. Who wants to get a phone call? I'll charge you. You know.
Can I actually? That's very interesting. An interesting legal thing that I did find was that a huge legal issue, because it's all about money, is who has the rights to information from extraterrestrial civilizations.
Oh.
And that's a big issue legally. You can look into it if you Google meta law.
Oh, because I guess that's it, isn't it? You know, like, I mean, I always like District 9 for having just the great concept of so many films. Of course, they're in America, so like the aliens are advanced. They come to America, and either they're to attack or whatever. Or they seem just focused on America, as not even the largest landmass. Whereas on District 9, it's like it's a spaceship which lands in Johannesburg in South Africa, and it's actually like a spaceship gone awry. So all you have is just workers on it. So it's not like scientists or politicians or whatever. They're just kind of run-of-the-mill workers who and they're kind of refugees effectively. And I think that's just such a good twist on the usual thing of like, what happens if our first like contact isn't this either benevolent or whatever kind of power? It's actually just some, you know, whoops.
Yeah, I mean, what rights would they have? Like, I mean, it says here, various classes of human beings, such as women, children, and indigenous people, were initially denied human rights, so the same probably would happen to aliens.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, that's true, and obviously it shows what happens in District 9.
Yeah, great film.
It's good. Let's go.
Have we got any more? So some questions were: is there any solid evidence? What's the science? Why not? Conspiracy theories. Go on. You got conspiracy theories.
I want to hear what Alistair, what is your conspiracy theory is your favourite that you heard?
To be honest with you, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a spoiler because I want to do this as a whole episode, but Egypt, like the pyramid stuff, I just love it. There's just so much. It's like if you were, you know, obviously if you're a conspiracy theorist, there's just, you couldn't ask for more, and just like there's just so much there, right? It's just these giant structures that we can see and be like,
Akhenaten,
so mysterious.
Is it Akhenaten? Is that how? Did you see him? He's the father of Tutankhamun.
Oh, okay.
And they were just like, he's an alien. Look at all these pictures. He's got a big head, and all the busts of him have big heads. He's definitely an alien.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. There's a thing of this place called Shag Harbour as well. That was an alien, like just again, it's a UFO sighting, and it was sort of this whole. Okay, I don't know. It's just like you say when we were talking about. Do you get any real evidence? Obviously there is, like Freddie was saying, but it's just so much of what you have going into it, right? And just let's go. We're down the road hole. But yeah, no, sorry to answer the question. I do enjoy a good ancient Egypt.
Okay, I guess with it, it's usually because it's like, wait, but we're so intelligent now. People previously must have been absolute idiots. They can do this. I mean, I think that I always love the best explanation is like, well, I wouldn't know how that worked, so it must be aliens, rather than be like, do you know how that building is built? No, but I know somebody else does. So
yeah, exactly. The thing about the recent, like, I mean, if you banded together a bunch of people now, and just anyone, doesn't matter who you choose, as long as they're just like they don't have our technology now, and said, right, fight the Romans. They're gonna lose. Like the Romans had excellent military tactics. Like just because you couldn't can't conceive of them being very intelligent.
Yeah.
Like we haven't changed.
That's the thing. Well, they talk about these stonemasons, right? All the people who built the pyramids, they would have been super skilled at it. But yeah, by compared to today's standards, because none of us are skilled at stonemasonry, because obviously some people are. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's this thing of just, it's exactly the point there. Basically, it's just because we can't conceive something now. It's just we instantly put it on this very very distant.
Yeah, like his like tying in crop circles. I had a little quick look at that, and there's some great, like, this one represents pi, this one is fractals, like photos of these crop circles, whatever. One guy was like I can't remember, he was the expert that was talking about them, and I wrote down his quote. The best and top scientists agree that these are secret keys to higher dimensions. It's like, and then someone else is just like, yeah, I mean, you can really just flip numbers how you want, and eventually they'll give a pattern that you choose it's going to agree with.
I remember, do you like back when like Netflix was a bit more of like a Wild West of random shows and no algorithms, where it's kind of like, random crop circle documentary that's like an hour long, and like, now I'll never see that on Netflix anymore, but way back when, it was great. You'd have random crap just given to you. And I remember watching this thing about crop circles in the UK, and it was like, this is clearly a message from Intelligent Life, and they're telling us how to make this new reactor. And they got so far and whatever, and like at one point it's like, no, this is the leading expert on it, and it was some guy who lived with his mum or something, and it was like, and at the end they made something. I think they made plasma out of something, and it kind of like, I don't know, you can make plasma with grapes in a microwave, so I'm not really sure, but
to be fair, if your instructional booklet is effectively trampled down
field.
crops of a field, and I think plasma's quite an impressive.
But it
put
was
grapes in the microwave. That would be quite difficult to write into a field.
I mean, it was very convincing. At the end, there's very like questioning things of where you go. There's nothing really to write home about that you'd be very proud of what you're doing. I just mean in the sense of like, it's very weird. But it seemed like he had a good go at it, and then it was like, oh, we've just run out of funding, and we're not able to make this documentary any longer, so we're going to have to call it quits halfway through the investigation kind of thing of them trying to build this new reactor. But yeah, no, good show. If anyone knows what it is, you just tell us. It'll be great. Go watch it again.
Yeah, don't watch the other series, watch this. The last one I found, last conspiracy theory that was I don't know, I just found interesting, was that some pilot apparently flew to the North Pole way back when, and allegedly either discovered or fell down or something, that inside Earth there's another Earth. Okay, like, and the holes are in the North and South Pole, and the experts aren't sure, obviously, whether the Earth inside Earth is an alien planet that we access through the portals, or if it's just another version of Earth in like a subterranean thing. And basically aliens, and the guy discovered it, and like, I don't know, I couldn't take it seriously enough, but a lot of people really like the idea that there's an Earth inside Earth, or at least a portal to the other Earth inside Earth.
I mean, isn't that a great thought of being like, so this door, does it lead to a room with it? Say like, you look at your house now, so you walked into the room you're in. How do you know that door is not actually a portal to another dimension with just the exact same physical properties of that room, and the window gives the impression of what yours looks like outside, but in reality it's not at all. It's actually, it's not a door, it's a portal. It just looks very convincingly like a door.
You can say that about literally everything, but
yeah,
yes.
I know, right?
I like to pretend as a kid that mirrors are dimensional portals to like backwards world, and like I was trying to like help myself out, like, get out of there, get out, slapping my hands to the mirror. But
Freddy, stop trying to break through the mirror, damn it!
Gotta get to the alternate dimension.
I'll save you later, backwards Freddy, don't worry.
You like writing secret messages to yourself.
Writing backwards.
Oh, he can run like me. Amazing.
What would you do then if it's one day just like you smile and it just smiles slightly later or something like?
Oh.
Could you imagine that? Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Oh,
dear. Yeah. So I think, shall we wrap it up there? Unless everyone's got any extra little bitty bobs.
There's one like quite it wasn't really a quote, just something that the scientist said on one of those things, was sort of one of the great hunts for extra travel, or one of his great motivators for finding extraterrestrial life was like, I'm looking for intelligent life because I haven't found any here on Earth.
What?
That's quite a nice.
What a dig.
Savage, mate, but alright.
No.
Sorry, you're too good for the entire of Earth. Okay, yeah, got it. But, yeah.
Oh, I've looked around and I'm wanting. So get ready, buckle your seatbelts, because this is the time you've been waiting for. It's my fact of the show. So,
Once
when I
every
got
3 weeks, Johnny gets to share something about
this was a doozy. So I got coronavirus, and then I didn't fully lose my smell, but it got changed and a bit weird. The term is called parosmia, so you can look that up, and that's where your sense of smell or taste actually changes. A lot of people have it, and it's like, oh, looking it up, oh, cool, that's because like the thing started smelling a bit funny and maybe tasting a little bit different, and it hasn't really gone away. And I was like, oh, there's a term for it. Oh, cool. So it can last a couple of days to a couple of weeks, and then it's pretty vague on when it ends. I was like, oh, that's good. So
days ago, it's all just forever, yeah.
Yeah, just forever. Or you can do like smell training, of where effectively you just teach yourself how to smell properly again. But one thing I learned, which is, so do you like
to smell properly?
So do you like if you get coffee and
Just
you like try to
sniff the shampoo and then quickly eat some grapes or something
In the microwave.
So do you like so you say you get coffee, so do you like get a familiar smell and actively try to think about smelling the smell and trying to reconnect those pathways effectively? So do rather than just passively smelling all the time, just making active effort to be like, I know what this smells like, and you try to actively do that. And the most incredible little fact, that's just a random little sideline, just to bring us onto the main thing,
God.
is that each nostril picks up a different smell. So you can try this out as well, especially with coffee. If you close one nostril and smell, and then you close the other one and smell, they're slightly different, and that combination gives it the full smell itself, which is just great. And part of it is because in your nose you have erectile tissues in it. So you probably notice sometimes one nostril will smell better than the other nostril, and so it does that, and it's cyclic, so it keeps going round. And part of it, I think, it's to do with it changes the airways, so it kind of picks up different smells. So you're able to effectively, they did a study on it of having different smells and getting people to smell it after, like, I think it's like every hour or something, and they were able to smell certain components in one nostril better than the other, and that slowly swapped throughout the day, which is just mad. I mean, one thing, so there's different studies been about it. One link, which was like, it's probably a tenuous link, so I didn't find it in direct
always
study.
The best kind. Always the best.
But I found it in something which was like a summary of different studies. Was that your right nostril smell is usually nicer than the left, and this being linked to the right side of your brain, which is emotional processing. Hence why maybe it's a little bit more pleasant. But then a bit of conflicting thing of like, because they're cyclic and different ones all smell differently. I don't know. It's that idea that right and left side of your brain, but I think again it's more of like they generalised a bit and maybe put a link to it which wasn't specifically tested for. But that's wild. Your nostrils have a different sense of smell, and that's just crazy. And you try teach yourself how to, like for me, my left nostril smells fine. I smell coffee, smells fine with my left nostril. My right one smells really weird, so I'm trying to actively get that back to normal, because otherwise stuff smells a bit weird.
Weird how, like worse or
yeah, do kind of like say you drink, what was a good, I need to think of what was an example I gave. Let's just say, like if you're listening to something and there's just like a bit of a muffle to it, so you're not hearing it properly, but it's just got a tint. Yeah, so it kind of like that.
Someone's
got
a bucket over their head and they've got the buckets full of water, and yeah, we haven't seen Buckethead Freddy for weeks. So new mic and his good internet.
I know. But yeah, so it'd just be like that. So if through the right nostril, it's kind of like a bit like coffee, but a bit weird. So yeah, so there you go. Try it out. Smell some stuff. And
that was fun. I actually enjoyed that. That's my favourite of your weird facts so far, Johnny.
Oh, thanks. You're welcome. So that's it. Tune in for us next week, next Saturday, and you'll hear something completely different. Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out in 2 seconds. You guys, you've got to wait a week. So, and I will say, don't die, and maybe we can talk about it later. Be good. Be good. No, just we'll trail off. The music will increase.
That was the most useless thing that my mum would always say to me when I was leaving the door. Be good.
I like the idea of your mum's thinking like the neighbours, like she doesn't say it one day and then like you do something bad. I don't know.
Freddy murdered 18 people. Oh, damn, I forgot to tell them to be good.
Damn
it. Right, cool. So I think that's call it a day. Call it a wrap. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know if we say we don't have any closing line, do we? Just goodbye. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. And I'd like to thank you for listening to No Idea Yet. If you've liked the show, you can always follow us on Instagram. It's No Idea Yet Podcast. And if you have any comments, information you thought we missed, or recommendations for the future, drop us an email on noideayetpodcast@gmail.com. Stay tuned every Saturday for when we drop our new episodes, and thank you for listening.